I went through my game library to think about this one, and was quickly realizing that these video game worlds that I just talked about loving to experience are usually all pretty scary and
terrifying.
Right. Like, I was like, ooh, what about Cyberpunk 20? No, Cyberpunk. What about Diablo? No, not Diablo. But Skyrim is my number one. When I first played this game, I took a week off of work, and I was completely transported to this world that I fell in love with. The magic, they had me at dragons. Anything with dragons immediately gets my attention. The fact that the world felt really lived in. But that game, when I played it, I was like, I could just live in this world. I could go to all these different towns and talk to these different people, and and have magic. That was my big thing. Like, lots of games have magic.
Yeah.
That game, I felt like I had magic. For sure. There was just something different about it. It just hit differently.
Now, what part would you want to live in, though? Would you want to live in one of like the small villages?
Not the cold area.
No.
Well, yeah.
Not the northern part where it's all snowy. One of the nice like springtime places. Maybe Riften, because I really loved the Thieves Guild. So maybe I'd live in Riften.
Which town had the bar called the Winking Skeever?
Which
I've never forgotten that name.
I think was that the capital? I think that might have been the capital.
I think that's where
top.
I lived, just because that just sounded dirty, and I was like, I'm in.
Yeah, that does sound very dirty.
Yeah,
I think a skeever's like an armadillo, though, so it wasn't.
They were rats in the game. These big rodents of unusual size. But that would be my first choice.
Nice, that's a good one. Concelmo?
This was an impossible question. I thought it was going to be so easy because my favorite game, one of my favorite series of all time is Metroid. So I was like, Metroid. But then I was like, no, again, I don't want to live in Metroid because Metroids are terrifying. If I saw a Metroid in real life, I would die. And also living in space is scary. So then I was like, oh, well, of course I picked Zelda because I love Zelda. But then I was like, well, also Zelda is also pretty terrifying. Like, there's monsters. Like, Ganon's always taking over the world. Like, there's a blood moon. Like, I don't want to live there. Yeah. So then I really actually was like, this question, which I thought was the easiest question, turned into the hardest question. So I narrowed it down to two, but I'll tell you the one that I thought was the best was EarthBound. If you guys know that, it's like it's a Super Nintendo RPG. And the reason I like EarthBound is because it actually takes place in the modern world. And I was like, this is the world I want to be in. I love dragons like you, Matt, but I don't want to live in the medieval ages. I won't have a TV. I won't have a phone. I won't have anything, a car.
Right?
So at least
I know, I thought about that too.
EarthBound, this is why I took this question so seriously. Like, EarthBound is in the modern world. You have a house. I have an actual bed, a television, everything. And then they have modern appliances. They also can use magic, and they also are monsters if you want to visit them. So to me, it's the perfect combination of like modern living with like some fantasy elements, because I don't want to sleep in a cot or a hay bale in Skyrim. I love Skyrim, but I want to have like a nice
good
bed.
Point. That's an excellent point. I'll give you that.
So anyway, that's how I came up with my answer. I took it way too seriously. I thought about it for like a really long time.
No, that's great.
That is so funny because I did the exact same thing. My first pick was going to be BioShock Infinite or BioShock. I couldn't decide between the two. But then I was like, I don't want to live with splicers that are going to kill me around the corner every second. And it's all in the old time stuff. So obviously I couldn't have an Xbox there, or a PlayStation or anything. So I'm out. Like, even though I thought those were amazing worlds, really well crafted and beautiful. So I had to abandon those. And my first real one was Uncharted 4. And that's because that game is gorgeous. And it had a great mix. They actually play a video game in Uncharted 4. So I'm all right, I'm living in a world where I can still play video games. And I'm like modern. You went to a dinner party. It was fancy. Everything was great. And then you had that Indiana Jones-esque adventure. And you're going through like Africa and tombs and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, okay, Uncharted 4 for sure is the real answer because it's the mix of like adventure and both worlds, and it's beautiful AF. So that's mine.
And that means you're living in a world where Nathan Drake is a real person.
Yes, exactly.
I'll just leave it at that.
He's married. Yeah, he's married though, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's funny that you guys are like, but I want to be able to play video games. But in Skyrim, you shoot lightning from your hands. I'll trade video games for shooting lightning from my hands.
That's true.
But also a dragon could swoop out of the sky and eat me at any time. So, you're making the trade-off. So my second one is, it was going to be Stardew Valley, but I'm like, man, you have to do a lot of work in that. And I do not want to do all that work.
Not once you get the sprinklers set up and all that. It's not as bad, but yeah.
That's true, but it takes a couple months.
And you can still make wine. You can still make wine.
You can still make wine. They have TVs. Yeah, they have TVs.
You just sold me.
But what I decided on was No Man's Sky. And that goes to what I was saying before about exploration and just to have your spaceship to be just jump in and head off to a brand new world and discover something brand new. Okay, so maybe you have to deal with a firestorm or an acid rain-ish situation here and there. But to just, okay, so maybe some pirates. Okay, I can deal with some pirates. But what if I have a fleet of ships that I just became friends with? Like my last playthrough, a dude just gave me a fleet. I'm like, okay, that's great. I'll take that fleet. And now I can just explore the stars as much as I want in my fleet of ships. The exploration in that game, once they figured out, of course, it's a famous game for being really harsh at the beginning, but there's even a new update that's coming soon that they just announced. That's update 1 of 2. It's been updated so many times. The exploration, going to a new planet, seeing new wildlife, new pets. You can now have pets. All of that had me sold. I'd live in No Man's Sky.
That's a good one. Yeah. Concelmo?
My second one kind of contradicts my first one, because my first one was all about modern conveniences and being in a place where I could own a phone and a TV. This one is the opposite of that, but I'll give you my explanation. My second one is living on Monkey Island, which is an old adventure game where you play as a pirate, and I love pirates. I love boats. I love islands, so it's a perfect place for me to live.
You love monkeys.
I do also love monkeys. But Monkey Island is great because not only is it tropical, and yes, there is an evil pirate named LeChuck, but he's very set on killing Guybrush Threepwood, the main character. So he wouldn't bother me. If I was just a random guy that lived in Monkey Island, he wouldn't even care about me. LeChuck's not here to destroy the world. He's here to destroy Guybrush Threepwood, so I'd be fine. And also, there's just a lot of taverns with really fun names. We talked about that before when we were talking about the Weavers.
Winking Skeever.
Yeah, sorry. So there's other taverns in that game, so I could go drink some grog. I can hang out with my buddies. We could ride out on our ship, go to other islands. It just sounds like a very fun hangout place with not a lot of responsibilities. It's in a tropical setting. The more I thought about Monkey Island, the more I realized that I think I could be sold on it. So that's my other pick.
Love that.
I'm like, Chad, get out of my head, because my second one was Sea of Thieves.
That's crazy.
I had the exact same thought process of you, and I don't even really like Sea of Thieves as a game, but the world is so beautiful.
Right.
I do have a monkey, so you can have pets. You can laze around on beaches. The food's plentiful, and you're hanging out with your friends all the time. It's all about on the boat, being with your friends, hanging out. You can stop off in ports. You can try and murder other people. But there are really good stories, like when you go into the taverns and you get quests and stuff like that to go on these really far off islands and stuff like that. But the color and the graphics and the fact that you're hanging out with your friends and a pet, I was like, well, that's definitely got to be Sea of Thieves. And it's so weird. We had the exact same thought process. That's crazy.
That is very crazy. And I agree with everything you're saying, obviously.
Pretty much wraps up everything we got on the show. On behalf of the Good Playing With You crew, Matt Maulding, Chad Concelmo, and myself, Dan Whitehill, have a great weekend. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Awesome.
Perfect.
I didn't know I was supposed to say that.
Keep all of that in.
Do you need me to re-record it? I'm so sorry.
No, that is gold.